see if I got a clean lens or something here. What was I?
Hey,
how you doing? It's going good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. It's good, yeah. So what are you going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about saving Minnesota from the career politicians. Same thing we talk about every time.
Okay.
So I'm excited to meet the group that's here and answer questions, really.
Okay, so when's your next events coming up?
Right after this.
Yeah.
But, we have a big one this weekend, actually. For a lot of our volunteers, it's at Quinny's.
Oh, okay.
Saturday, 6 to 8.
6 to 8. I was trying to pull up the exact time.
Okay, so at Quinny's?
Stuff that day, but yeah, 6 to 8 at Quinny's. So that's where I want folks to
And that's Quinny's and where?
North St. Paul.
North St. Paul. So people are invited to go to
Right by
that?
Century College. Yeah, we can come by.
Okay. All right. We did good on the debates here a couple of days ago, so that was good.
It went well. I think
Yeah,
it went well.
actually. Yeah.
It was fun. We got another one coming up in December, Providence Academy. That's the big one.
14th?
I think it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That one's a controversial one a little bit.
Why is that?
Because there's like 5 things that they did that people are grumpy about.
Oh. So what are the
things they don't like is that they didn't invite 2 of the candidates. There's 5 things they didn't like. They were claiming that it was the first professionally moderated event.
Okay.
What was that thing we had 2 days ago? Seems pretty professional.
Right,
yeah. There's 5 things. They're also mad about media, so they're blocking all media.
Yep, I think they have a captive media company that'll stream it online.
Alpha News, yeah. So they're grumping about that. And then there's 5 things so far. There's quite a few. Basically, this event got no negative at all. So
yeah, no, it was a good event. I mean, 200 people. It was awesome.
I'm talking about this one too, right here. Yeah. I think when you have events, you want to be. They don't like the straw poll because the straw poll is excluding a bunch of 2 candidates, so they think the straw polls are relevant. Okay. So, but anyway, all right. So, do you have any lit with you? I was gonna try to get. I've been asking for.
Appreciate that, Sam.
I got your palm cards on the thing from 2 days ago.
Hi, you Shah. Yeah.
Okay, everybody make sure everybody's
I already signed, yeah. No, they're gonna replace the governor.
Pose with the Chevy.
I know, I like that.
Oh, they got some cool stuff over here too. This is like a little museum. Look at all this stuff. This is like a little museum here. I think I got a cloudy lens.
Awesome. Great. So, yes, thank you. But the next day,
I'm gonna go down and take a look at the food. They got a place to eat here. There's Romans down here. A nice little restaurant down here too, so you can go get food. There we go. You get to see the car.
My name is Adam Davis. I am the
Excuse me.
district chair for the Senate District 41 Republicans, and I'm so thrilled for all of you being here tonight. So, I think we got a few more people coming, so, but we're going to get started here. I am so thrilled to let you know that we have two special guests tonight that have afforded their time for us. The first one tonight is Dr. Neil Shah, and I'll let him do all his introductions there, but he's one of, I believe, 6 candidates that have announced to run for the Republican nomination for governor, and I'm so glad that we have such great candidates, so many options that we can choose from, and I think it's going to be a great upcoming year for us, for Republicans. The Democrats have never been so unpopular.
Yeah.
And so even in areas where we're more blue, I think that we'll do better than we have in a long, long time. So, and then I want you to stay tuned. Following Dr. Neil Shah, we have former Senate Majority Leader Gazelka will be coming. And then we'll be having some more discussions following that. Everything from just what's been going on in our district to what's been going on in our surrounding cities. I have a gentleman, Chris Enstock, who is here from Mountain View School District 6 Parents United, I believe it is. And it's a new group here of grassroots parents and concerned citizens about the Mountain View School District. So, and I have more as well. So, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Neil Shah.
Thank you. All right, can everyone hear me okay? All the patrons downstairs buying pop and stuff will get to hear me as well. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you guys tonight. This is kind of my neighborhood. My practice is just up the road in St. Anthony, where Apache Plaza used to be. I live not terribly far from here in North Oaks, and there was a period of time we kind of lived in Northeast Minneapolis when we were having just working on our house. So this is home. Love this place. Chimborazo is one of my favorite restaurants in the whole Twin Cities. Yes, I think maybe it is the best. It certainly is on. So fond memories of being here and around here. So it's a pleasure to be in front of you today. My name is Neil Shah, and I'm running to save the state that I love with the career politicians Tim Walz and the Radical Left. And with your hope, with your support, I believe you can do it. We have a historic opportunity here in Minnesota. The way the board's been laid out, the left's inability to do anything reasonable in terms of governance, Brandon's desire to run this country into the ground in Washington, and Tim Walz's inability to lead here, leads us with a historic opportunity to do something special. Not just win a statewide race for the first time in 26 tries, but also to start the process of turning the state red for good. And that's really the goal. Not just win one election. There's a reason my entire campaign is predicated around saving Minnesota. It's not one person, one campaign, one election cycle. It's a multi-year, multi-decade project to put the state on a better footing for our kids, for our family. I'm in this race because of 3 little kids on the back of that pamphlet that you have. 3 kids and my wife. My wife was born and raised in White Bear Lake. I was born and raised in the suburb of Chicago to Indian immigrant parents who came here with nothing. And like all of your forebears, came here with nothing and built something. That's the American dream. That dream is very much alive, but it's in danger. It's in danger of the radical left indoctrinating our kids to hate. It's in danger of the career political class doing what's good for them in St. Paul instead of what's good for you here in London Heights. And it's in danger of people forgetting the sacrifice of millions of Americans over hundreds of years to build this great country. But we can fight back. We know we have the better message. But the messenger matters. Someone who's not a career politician. Someone who's willing to go out there and clearly explain why conservative values should How do we get victory this election? How do we get victory every election after this? That's my goal. Not just one election, not one man. I've got a great day job. But I think the time is right for someone who's not a political insider to step out of their comfort zone, to take that first step in putting Minnesota on a better footing for the future. So with your support, I believe we can do that. I believe we can save Minnesota. And I believe we can get Tim Walz out next November. So I would love for you guys to have the opportunity to answer questions. I think we've got a little bit of time, right, Bridget?
Yes.
So that's really what I think is most valuable. And so I'd like you to ask easy questions, hard questions. Let's start here.
I would like to know, you've got the red state, the red areas, but what are you going to do with Hennepin County and Ramsey County? Those two counties you target specifically, which control the state.
Right.
What's your approach?
So the pitch is simple. Do you want to do the same thing you've been doing for 50 years and miraculously expect some kind of different result out of it? Redistributive policies have driven businesses out. Progressive policies like a minimum wage that is not at market levels drives businesses out, and then impoverishes the people who live here.
You have to do some education on that one.
You do have to do some education on it. You have to explain to people that these policies may sound good on a piece of paper, but they end up destroying communities at the end of the day. And what we promise is opportunity. What the left promises is a certain amount and a ceiling. So if you choose us, you have no ceiling. If you choose the left, you have a hard cap. We don't want you making too much money. We don't want you thinking for yourselves. You got to stay on the plantation.
So you'll approach Hennepin County with mailings, personal appearances, how are you going to hit that
You're going to help.
intersection?
You're going to help. Okay, so people who live in these communities, you have those connections. We have a winning message. We have to be able to go into these communities credibly and say, look, we are not a party of a bunch of racist people like you hear on TV from the legacy media. We are people who fundamentally care about the welfare of every Minnesotan. And we want as much opportunity for you as possible. That starts with getting your schools to actually teach, not indoctrinate. Getting your streets safe, not pandering to the radical left, and providing economic opportunity so that everyone can get rich.
You know, the governor has a lot of sway over what happens with the budget. What things would you like to cut out of the budget? Where's the fat?
Where isn't the fact? So you know just as well as I. Here's how the conversation goes between the so-called Republicans in St. Paul and the Democrats. Hey, the budget is $50 billion. The Democrats say we want it as 53. The Republicans say we like it at 51. Those are both the wrong answers. The correct answer is it should start with a 4. And then in a decade, it should start with a 3. Under the so-called leadership of the person you hear from after me, Senator Gazelka, we nearly doubled the budget in a little over a decade. That is not conservative leadership. That is not appropriate. And in addition to increasing the size and scope of the budget, we've increased the regulatory state. So now you have to go ask the folks in St. Paul, the unelected bureaucrats, about what to do with your farmland, what to do with your business, how to best manage your staff, what to pay them, whether you can have styrofoam containers. This is the administrative state of work, and it has to be cut back. And our taxes are out of control. Who is going to stay in the state after completing schooling at one of our great institutions? Who's going to stay in the state after starting a successful business? When you have Wisconsin next door, you have Dakotas next to us, you have Iowa, all of them with significantly better tax policies than we do. We have one of the highest personal income tax rates in the state. We have a death tax that's prohibitively high. We have a cap gains tax that's taxed like ordinary income. All of these things drive people away. All of these things ensure that your grandkids and my kids and your kids will not have a verdant economic environment to grow up in. And we have to push back on all of them. So how does that happen? We have a line item veto. So if Senator Gazelka wants to pass on an omnibus and Senator Benson wants to vote for it, and so does Jensen, that's fine. When he gets the governor's desk, he gets cut. Because I'm sharp. I can cut whatever I want that has a budgetary number after. You know why that doesn't get exercised very often? Because we send career politicians to St. Paul. They're like, well, maybe this is the end of my political career if I do the right thing and cut this budget. It's not a career. It's a job. Do your damn job. Cut the budget. So this is how the conversation starts the first budgetary year I'm in. You are going to cut 5% from this budget, or I'm going to cut 5% of this budget. I have a Sharpie. Do your job. I don't care about having this position. I'm a skin cancer reconstructive surgeon. I'll go back to doing that. You do your job and you cut this budget, or I will. And that's the kind of leadership that we don't have in our party. It's not the kind of leadership we have in St. Paul. It's what happens. We put career politicians there who don't have a day job, interested in simply staying in power. Are they going to take a chance? Are they going to stand up for conservative values? Are they going to stand up for cutting the budget, standing up for the unborn, standing up for the Second Amendment right? They're not going to do any of those things.
Medical freedom?
Medical freedom, any of these, because they're not politically speaking. So Senator Gazelka, I'm playing all day like, hey, I passed voter ID, even though I knew that couldn't pass the House, couldn't pass the governor. Where was the vote on Second Amendment reform? Where was the vote on Second Amendment rights? Where was the vote on cutting back the budget? All to protect some rhinos? Make better choices. Send better people to St. Paul. Send a fighter who's going to deliver different results. So who's going to take out that Sharpie, cut the budget, and get us the state that we need. Will it be easy? No. The best possible scenario in the state is we win with 50-point-something% of the vote, but it is doable. And now is the best chance that we're going to have to act. So with your help and the right candidate, we can get the Virginia result here.
If New Jersey can do it.
If New Jersey can do it, if a truck driver in New Jersey can do it with a couple $100, we can certainly do it here. But it starts by believing that there's a different path forward, that we don't have to settle for the same career politicians, and that we can do something different, run a different game plan, and get a better result. What other questions do you have?
No more backroom deals.
No.
Let the legislature do their
The
job.
legislature needs to do their job. The executive should be like some dude in the basement. Okay, that's where the office is. That's where you're supposed to be. The legislature is the most important branch because it's your voice. It's the voice of the people.
Never know that.
You never know that when you have a tyrant like Tim Walz usurping power, and then you have a legislature that's unable to strip it from improvement. That's why I signed the Never Again pledge. The most important thing is to ensure that the people retain control of their states, and that a tyrant, even if they're on the right side, can never again take control. It's not controversial. Act number 1, strip my authorities, declare an emergency. Should be easy.
We need
Why haven't the other career politicians signed that pledge?
We need election reform.
We absolutely need election reform, but we need the help. We need everything to do that. And I think everyone's going to be on the same page for that. We need voter ID and provisional ballots. That's easy. Everyone's on the correct side of that one, but we need to get the right folks in. Ma'am.
How are we going to deal with, voting with such a corrupt system in place?
So when I go to Greater Minnesota, my appeal to those folks out there is you have to put up or shut up. You can't whine about the election thing and not sign up to be an election judge down here. You guys need reinforcements. It needs to come from Greater Minnesota. The election runs pretty clean out there. They need to come down here and serve as election judges. That's the best we can do. It is highly unlikely that we're going to get anything legislatively passed. And I'm going to be a victim of that, so is everyone else that's running in the next election. So what can we do? Work within the system we have. We have good laws for that. Trying to get Antifa Keith to actually prosecute something is going to be a challenge. But we can at least have people at the polls. And that is where everyone needs to sign up to do it. Help. We got to help. And you got to show up and vote. And we have to get out the vote. Virginia showed us that the system's not totally rigged. You can do this, you can win. But they are going to try to have fraud. 90% of the poll watching positions in Virginia were filled. Here, does anyone know the ratio of Democrats and Republican poll watchers? No. 7-1. 7-1.
I was just an election judge in New Brighton, and I was the only Republican there.
7-1. So I'm going to be a little firm on this one. I'm a dad and 3 little kids. Put up or shut up. We got to show up. We have to work. And we need everyone, all our allies in Greater Minnesota to come down here and help us because this is where all the fraud is. Bring a combat veteran. What?
What about all the mail-in votes? In some of the places up north, they force them to do mail-in votes.
Yeah, mail-in votes are an issue. We have to do what we can in the areas we can do it until we get the real election reform passed in the state. But we can find the mail-in votes too. Let's do it.
I will say one thing about signing up to be an election judge. You have to sign up
Now.
with a major political party,
Yeah.
not with your city, not with the state, not with the Secretary of State. You have to sign up with a major political party.
When is that, July?
They don't
by,
listen to them anyway.
well, because the law says that by May 1st, they have to submit the lists. The political parties submit the lists. By May 15th, then the Secretary of State has to send those lists out to the county auditors where they get the election judges from. And there's supposed to be party balance everywhere, but there isn't.
Right.
So, I'm just
Because
saying.
they allow clerks to stand in, which the court should not have allowed to stand, but nonetheless have allowed them because they're allegedly nonpartisan, but they're all partisan. So you have to sign up. You have to sign up now, very soon, and you have to declare partisan.
Minnesota Voters Alliance's Supreme Court case is coming up soon. Maybe if we win that, about the ballot boards, there are no Republicans on ballot boards accepting and rejecting ballots. So we just had a court of appeals on our Minneapolis case. They hired 102 staff people, union members, to accept and reject the ballots of their bosses. What do you think is going to happen there?
Sure.
I just saw a League of Women Voters posted preliminary or a map of redistricting, and they show how the central cities are going to be growing. What's your plan to work on?
So,
Or booster, you know.
yeah, I mean, we have to have a plan. You know, you're not going to get 30% of the vote, right? You're not going to get 30% of the vote. Our goal, our 25, 10, 5, 10, 15, 25 year plan, GOP, has to include increasing the minority vote, election to election, or by small amounts. And eventually there will be a tipping. I think the time is close for folks in those communities that are thoroughly marginalized, have seen crime worse than it's ever been, have seen their schools disintegrate to nothing. The time is right for us to make that pitch, but it's going to require people who live in those communities, as far as candidates, willing to go out there and have those conversations. They're not going to be easy. You're going to get booed off the stage the first 5 times you do it, so you got to show up the 6th time. And eventually, it's going to make a difference. The only stories that I can share are the ones that I've had personally. So I used to live in Longfellow, East Lake, and my barber shop was across from Third Precinct. And the first time I went in there, they're like, what are you doing? Like that, I showed up. It's not any doctors. And 10 years later, it's a different conversation. It just takes time. And now I understand that, you're conservative, and we don't agree on everything, we respect you, and see where you're coming from, and on quite a few things we actually do agree. So we have to have that longitudinal effort, we have to have candidates willing to engage and not be afraid of running from that in an awkward way. But we can win, but we have to show up for a long time. Yeah.
One last question. Understand on the Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Okay.
Okay, so I carry a pistol every day. All right? Yes. So the Second Amendment's not about hunting, it's not about target shooting, it is about defending yourself from criminals and your country from tyranny. That's what it's there for. And if you don't have the Second Amendment, you end up like Australia.
And Austria.
And Austria and every other country that's taken away the arms. Number one, any tyrannical regime they do, they take away your ability to fight. We hope it never comes to that. That's a nuclear option, but that's why we have the Second Amendment. So it's about restoring gun rights. They've been taken from us. The Second Amendment is not a second-class amendment. It is equal to search and seizure. It is equal to free speech. It's equal to religion, and it ought to be treated like that. In the state of Minnesota, you should not have to ask the sheriff for permission to buy a weapon to defend your family. That needs to go away.
That's right.
We need constitutional carry in the state. You shouldn't be 21 to buy a handgun. You shouldn't be 21 to defend your family. You're 18. You reach the age of majority. You should be able to do that. So gun rights in this state have a long ways to go, and I would absolutely understand it. Any other questions for me?
That's very important, thank you.
Yeah.
Second Amendment test. For everything else.
Well, I mean, you're going to get people who are going to say the right thing, but do they actually live it? Right? Do you actually live it? Do you fundamentally believe in it? And can you get up there and explain to people who might be skeptical? Why do you need, air to defend your family? Why do you carry this? Well, it's because when seconds count, the police are minutes away. That's why. Our primary practice site when the riots got bad, they attacked Walgreens and pretty close to Chimborazo, right, on 39, and they were headed over in that direction. My wife and I were listening to the police scanner. The next day we went, there were windows down, it was bad. And I had rifle at work, body armor at work. I said, look, we're going to get our folks out. We're not going to shut down. We're not going to be terrorized and not doing our job. We have patients to take care of. But we're going to get these folks out if things go bad. And fortunately, St. Anthony's Police Department, they were parked right around there. But even then, we still have to have that right to defend the folks closest to me. I appreciate, oh yeah.
So just, what would be the one positive attribute that you would say that you have that would set you apart from the other candidates that are running the general election as much crossover as possible?
The one message we found here at St. Fair, we talked to, what was that?
We're just trying to hear you.
Oh, okay, I'll try to be louder. I can be loud.
Because these guys are really loud.
Downstairs, all of a sudden we can't
So
hear.
we had a state fair booth at the state fair, and I had a lot of conversations, thousands of conversations with folks from around the state, many of whom were left of center voters. Many of whom said, I would much rather vote for you than continue to vote for Walls, even though I've never voted for a Republican in my life. And they want someone who's actually going to defend freedom, defend liberty, and not look to just maintain a position in St. Paul. They're tired of the career political class, period. Left of center, right of center. All they see is a failing of the folks who are more interested in staying in St. Paul than standing up for any central animating set of ethics and morality. That is the single thing that I think distinguishes the other candidates, and that is a winning issue. So I hope you guys follow along with us. You have some lit here. One last question.
What the biggest question I got out of the people that were here was about schools. People were talking about this earlier, about critical race theory. They're talking about the war on parents, the war in the school boards, and the war on the schools. And
Come on, Great Revolution.
So I'll tell you my personal story on this. Okay, so we moved to Mountain View Irondale District to send our kids to Mountain View, which is historically a good school district. And in 3 years, it fell off a cliff. So we have a third grader, a first grader, and a pre-K. And we made the difficult decision this year. My wife and I are both public school grads from a different era. And we pulled our kids out. And we did an exit interview. So our kids go to Liberty now. We pulled our kids out, we did an exit interview with the assistant principal. Complete disregard for parents, for special needs kids and gifted kids, for kids across the entire educational spectrum was so obvious. It's, well, critical race theory, it was this gaslighting. Critical race theory doesn't really exist. Well, can you tell me how the Holocaust went away? Can you tell me how World War I and II went away? Have you read the social studies curriculum? No, I haven't read it. They're too busy learning the new math. I don't know what's wrong with the old math. They're too busy with the new math. Our public school systems are in a shambles. And yet, we continue to shovel more money at a failing, racist public school system that seeks to segregate and divide our children. That has to stop. And we need a candidate who's going to get on the stage with Tim Walz and be like, Tim Walz, why are you such a fan of racism? Why do you want to go back to segregating white-black kids? Why do you want to teach these kids to hate? I grew up looking at a colorblind society. That's the way forward. Not division.
That's right.
Not what they want to do. And we can't let them win, and we can't continue to let the public school system get increasing funding every year when they do nothing in return.
That's right.
So we know what the prescription answer to this is. It's vouchers and school choice. Kids have to have the freedom to go wherever they want. We all know the answers. The time is to do it now because there's left of center voters who are frustrated with what's happening. They are on our side. They've seen their kids' futures play second fiddle to the needs of the teachers' unions, the desires of the teachers' unions. Walz is too weak to stand up to them. We have the opportunity to crush them on this. And that's what's going to bring the suburbs back. Prime schools. We know what the prescription is. Virginia was a litmus test for that. We need to execute it here. And we need an aggressive candidate who's going to go after them and just hammer on this issue without them. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to all you all tonight. You're definitely back here. You need a dermatologist just up the road.
Get a picture with our chair.
Let's do it.
Chair.
Where do you want it back?
Adam is the one who got you here, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You guys are related. You know where to find us online at Neil Shah MN on social, likeneil.com. We need delegates. We need dollars. We need supporters. We need all of you to spread the word.
How many delegates do we have here? You'll be surprised. How many delegates do we have here in this room right now?
There you go. So you have a lot to think about. And you have a very important choice. Who's going to take the fight between the walls on the right and left? Who's going to give us the best chance of victory? And who's going to govern in a way that we want? So I appreciate your consideration. Please reach out at any time in the campaign. Thank you for the opportunity. Good to see you.
I'm going right up. I think I might have bumped you. Is he going to start right away?
All right. Thank you, Neil. And I let the campaign go. If you have further questions, pass them on to me or pass them on to the campaign. I'll forward them and pass them on to me. Our next person that I want to introduce
Should get a
here,
little closer.
we're thrilled to
Choose that.
have
Just noisy.
former Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka. And so thrilled that he's trying to come here tonight to our Senate district.
Okay.
How many people want to win? Really, do you want to win? Because we haven't won in a while, and there is something that has been winning. Think about that. We've won 3 of the last 4 times. So when everybody else has been losing, we have been winning.
You guys got a flyer? I can grab one of those. Thanks.
There's a conversation going on over here. Quiet.
That's all right.
No, it's not. I can't hear.
You're right. I wish I had a microphone. This is like the 5th meeting today, I think, something like that.
Have one in the car.
It's really good to be here. I'll try to do it this way.
They want one?
But I'm Paul Gazelka. I was the leader of the Senate for the last 5 years. Most of that time we had a 1-seat majority. 1-seat majority. The House was controlled by Democrats. The governor obviously was Democrat. And yet we held the line. Somebody asked about the Second Amendment. Not once did we give up on the Second Amendment. I will tell you, Scott Jensen wanted to give up on the Second Amendment. Not once did we give up on the Second Amendment. We never raised taxes. Not with Dayton. Not with laws twice. We never raised taxes. We protected life. We protected the Constitution. We protected small business owners. We protected the ag community. But frankly, we even protected the police. And I can't believe that I even have to say that, but they wanted to defund the police. Many of the reforms that they were trying to do would have driven police out of the ranks of being a police officer. And just today, at noon, I got all of the chiefs of police across the entire state of Minnesota got together and they gave me the Legislator of the Year defending our communities and defending the police. In June, I got the Legislator of the Year from the BPOU, that's Minnesota Peace and Police Officers. They gave me their Legislator of the Year award. Last month, the Highway Patrol endorsed me for governor. Why would they do that? Why would they endorse me for governor? That is one of the key issues that we have to focus on is public safety. And all of those groups said, I'm the guy. Well, because I'm not afraid to stand up when things are tough. Tough talk is easy. Anybody can talk. Try that one. But think about that. I mean, I can tell you, the differences between me and Scott Jensen. Back then, when it came to the Second Amendment in 2018, there was tremendous pressure because of shootings to give up on the Second Amendment, to pass universal background checks. He authored 2 anti-Second Amendment bills. Now he's suddenly tough talk, wrong on the Second Amendment. But when the pressure's there, what do? Do you raise taxes? Do you give up on pro-life? Do you give up on the Second Amendment? We never did. Never, ever did that. And so right now we have an opportunity to win. But for me, it's not just winning governor. I gave up my role as leader of the Senate. I could have stayed. But the reason I gave up on that is because we have to win the Senate and we have to win the House. I didn't want to just have a platform of the Senate so I could be in front of the media all the time. The Senate needs to win. And I left them with more money than they raised in the prior prior 4 years before I came over as leader. In 9 months, I raised more money than what they had the prior 4 years. So they're going to win. The House under Kurt Dowd, they're passionate to win right now. Last time I didn't see that passion, I see it right now. And then it's about winning governor. Because if we have House, Senate, governor, then we can actually do something. If it's just governor, we just hold the line again, everybody gets frustrated. So what am I going to do when I'm governor? Well, I can tell you, first of all, I'm going to do a hiring freeze on all state workers. That's how you shrink the size of government, hiring freeze. That's what Ronald Reagan did. I'll appoint commissioners that aren't going to just be political appointees. They're going to be experts in their field. My expectation is they look for waste and fraud. We haven't looked at state government for a long time. And it's time to save some money on many of these agencies. The second thing I'll do, or third, is the expectation is that they look for regulations that we don't need. Not for the individual, not for business, not for the ag community, not for education. What are the things that we really don't need? That was what Donald Trump did. He got rid of 8 regulations for every new one he added. Emergency powers, you better believe we're going to change those. And you don't have to wonder if I'm going to do it, because we passed Senate File 4 that only gave a governor 30 days. I'd sign 70. I'd sign less than that. The governor does not need the emergency powers the way Walz did. For elections, absolutely we'll do election reform. You don't have to wonder again. The Senate passed photo ID for voting this year. The House would not agree. We passed reform for the provisional ballots. You show up and vote, you got to prove who you say you are. Right now you don't. I would create a pot of money that does election audits on a regular basis. Why don't we do that? Everybody wants to know their elections are fair. Education. Parents need more choice. Period. And I've always defended homeschool and Christian school in addition to public school. But parents need to choose where their kids want to go, and we need to help them go other places if it's not public school. Minority kids in Minneapolis and St. Paul are crying out for other options, and the Democrats keep saying no. And I'll make sure that the history standards don't forget our triumphs. All they want to focus on is our failures. That's all they want to focus on. And so kids graduate, and some think the flag is racist. And they don't know that they're citizens of the greatest country in the world. That's on us to hold the line. You don't have to wonder, because we got a 2-year delay. The governor wants to change the history standards and say, you don't have to talk about World War I, World War II, you don't have to talk about George Washington, you don't have to talk about the Holocaust. So what do you believe? So that's the battle we're in. And I want to make sure parents have oversight in schools. I want to make sure that the curriculum is transparent. Right now we have legislation that says it's transparent, but the parents don't know how to get to that. We've got to make it easy for them to do that. So it's time to take our state back. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. And I'm the only one that has governed against 2 Democrat governors, 3 $50 billion budgets, and never raised taxes. All these other guys talk about all these things they're going to do. Well, tough talk is easy, but if you've never balanced a $50 billion budget, and you're going to come in and 1 month later you're supposed to do that, I'm sorry, but you actually have to have some experience to do this. I'm the only one that kept 34 senators together, 1 vote majority, 5 moderates, we held the line. I'm the only one that recruited 2 Democrat senators to join us from the Iron Ring. First time ever in our history, because I build relationships with people and I influence people to the place we should go. Nobody else has that governing experience. And if you don't think that that's important when you're governing at this magnitude, it's a big deal. How do I win when I say I don't think the other ones win? I've got range Democrat leaders, that's Virginia, Minnesota, Democrat leaders publicly promoting me on the range, because that's where my wife and I are from. By the way, Marilee Gazelka,
Hi, y'all.
39 years, we've been married, 5 kids, 5 grandkids.
We're from the range?
Yes,
Right.
Virginia.
Virginia, okay. All right.
So they're promoting me on the range,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
That's how we get more Democrat votes. I talked to you about the police. That's how we're going to do well with public safety. Blue collar unions have been supporting me.
when they're literally on Walls' campaign, they're giving support to me right now. I don't know if they'll endorse me, they're definitely supporting me. And that's how we won Cloquet for the first time. We picked a union candidate to win in Cloquet. That's how we won in Austin since a long time. We picked a union candidate in Austin. So I'm building a network that none of these other guys have. They can say they're going to do it now, but I've been doing it for more than 5 years, and that's how we have this influence. And then the last group is Minneapolis and St. Paul. For the last 5 years, I've been working with minority communities in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Hmong community in St. Paul, the India community up in Plymouth, the Black and Latino communities and what they're caring about. And they don't want to defund the police. This is what they want. We share common faith with many of them. They want their families to succeed. They want a good education for their kids. They don't want to defund the police. And they want jobs for their future. That's what we want. And that's what they want. And so that's the folks that I'm building bridges with. If they want Marxism, we're not on the same page. If they want to defund the police, that's not us. But a lot of them want to be with something. They want something else. And I'll close with this and take a few questions. I met one black pastor in the cities, and it was either the second or third visit. He said, I was the first Republican leader that has ever been in his church in 25 years. And it was by building a relationship that he said, if you can show me something different, I'll change. I said, what can we do that's different? Well, show us how to get jobs. Well, it's not always the government. So my union connection, blue collar unions, we've set up meetings to create a pipeline for people in that church to get blue collar union jobs. Well, that's not the government, it's just building relationships. So anyway, I'm Paul Gazelka. I'm the leader of the Senate for the last 5 years. The other 5 candidates are great people, but the fact is they don't have the leadership skills to do what you're asking them to do. They're just telling you what we go and say every single meeting. So with that, I'll take a few questions. I know I've got to do a Zoom with another group, but any questions on any subject, including what is the difference between me and other candidates, I'm happy to go into that.
Question here.
Yes.
So, I'm one of the admins over at the Mountain Parents United, the Mountain School District. One of the things that we're dealing with, there's so many states, way more than we have. But I'd love to hear what you would like to do with the schools to allow parents more access, more control, more clarity, and really bring excellence back to the schools, not just indoctrination, but education.
Yeah, you know, you're spot on, and obviously the term is critical race theory, but frankly it's white privilege, it's equities. I mean, there's a lot of terms that it's used on. And in statute right now, there is language that says that the schools are supposed to show curriculum transparency. So we're working on legislation right now to make sure that you have access to be able to actually see what's going on. That's the one factor that wasn't there, and so they're not really making that available to kids. And this is a big issue nationwide. The 3 issues that we win on, one is public safety, the second one is education and parents involved. I mean, that's a huge one. And the third one's the economy. And those are the issues that Youngkin, frankly, won in Virginia. But if you go to my website, that's been on my website from the very beginning. Those 3 issues. Parents have to be more engaged. The only way we do that is to create more access for them, which we will do. I'm so excited to see many communities across the state, the parents are saying, not in my school. And, you know, so we delayed the change of the history standards, but frankly, we need a new governor so that they can't do it at all.
Yeah, there's more momentum now among parents than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
Yep, which is really exciting to me. Same thing with your city councils. People are engaging like I've never seen. You know, and that gives me hope. Frankly, my hope is in God, but frankly, it's that we rise up to take back many of the things that they've been trying to take from us. So, yes and yes.
Can I ask you about your stance on the mandatory vaccine?
Against. Yeah, we should never mandate vaccines, and you don't have to wonder if that's where I'm at, because remember I said tough talks is easy, anybody could say it. As Senate leader, first of all, we didn't have any vaccine mandates, but secondly, we didn't have a mask mandate in the Senate. The entire rest of the state vaccine or mask mandate. I said in the Senate, you get to choose. So I recommended people do it, but I lead by influence. The governor led by a stick, and that's never the way I think that you govern. We serve the people. The people are here. You're down here serving, but I'm very much opposed to vaccine mandates as well. The reason why we haven't had a special session, I just gave up leadership, but up to this time, is we wanted more options for people to not get the vaccine if they chose to. So for example, if you've had the virus, you've got antibodies, why do you have to get the vaccine? If you chose to get tested every week, the religious exemptions were actually more open to people. And so that's where I was on that, but the reason being is liberty. We cannot take away people's liberties. We have to let them follow their knowledge and heart to make the decisions they make. If we make them for them, then we're just collectivism rather than individualism, and individualism is part of liberty and what made us great. Is that clear enough? All right. You had a question.
Yeah, galvanization, the galvanization between the parties. I think that has to, for me, it has to go. That we have to stand on common ground with regard to, as Americans, as people who are born here with our liberties and our rights. Those have to take precedent over what color we are. I mean, in terms of blue or red or pink. Or, And how do you feel about that?
Well, as the only one that actually governed, I fought hard for conservative principles, but in the end, in divided government, there were things that I didn't get done. You know, like I wanted photo ID for voting. They wanted felons to vote earlier. We set them aside. And then I governed. I mean, in the end, we passed a budget that required House, Senate, and Governor to agree. And so that is my duty to the people of Minnesota to make sure we got done. And I did it in a way I think that was honorable. So that's where I'm at. People wanted me to shut down the government, and they don't realize that the courts changed they said they're not funding government anymore in 2017. Under Dayton and Paletti, they funded 80% of government in a shutdown. So now they weren't going to fund vets homes, nursing homes, Teen Challenge. They wouldn't have funded the police. We would have defunded the state police. You know, and I said I'm not going to do that to the people of Minnesota. So, you know, think about the people first, and you're going to get to the right place.
Right on. Thank you.
Yep. What else? All right. So, yes. Yes and yes.
Someone else had a question.
All right, yes.
Well, you were asking about different options as far as not when you take the shots or anything.
Yeah.
It should be enough for a person to say it's my body.
Well, I totally agree. I'm just saying we were trying to find, we haven't had a special session that the governor wants that for worker bonuses, because we're trying to say you got to have more options for people. We're trying to do something is what I'm saying. If people are just talking about we shouldn't allow it, that's fine. But we're actually trying to find ways to help people, which is why the governor did not call a special session in September or October, and now we're November, because he knows that we may take out a commissioner if he doesn't work with us. So that's why we're doing it. So ultimately, I hope the lawsuits at the federal level prevail, and that they can't do what they've been trying to do. So
I'm just curious why we keep waiting for other options. I think the option is clear. Our liberty says we put in our bodies what we want in our bodies. How many more people are going to lose their jobs before something happens here?
That's right.
How long are we going to sit by and just get more options?
Well, it's a real crisis, is it not?
Yeah, I'm about to lose my job over this.
And that's why we're fighting for you. I'm just telling you that.
When are you going to start fighting them? I don't feel anybody's fighting for me. Everybody's looking for more options. Everybody's placating. Oh, just make them take a test.
So the options we're trying to do so that you do save your job. The challenge is at the federal level is where it's coming all the way down from the President of the United States. And the best lawsuits for us to win are at the federal level. If we're talking about lawsuits in Minnesota where 5 out of the 7 Chief Justice or the Supreme Court justices were appointed by Democrats, I'm not after this. And so I understand that you are in a life-changing decision that you are in front of, and I can't do any more than what I'm doing right now, which is not giving in to the governor so that we can try to get some off-ramp. And I know didn't do the special session because we thought about people like you that we got to figure out a way. But it's a scary time. I can't imagine what else to do. Yeah. And because of that decision, we have a shortage of nurses, police, fire, business owners, EMT. I just got a letter from an EMT emergency group right now that said, we don't have enough people. We don't know where to send people because the nurses are rightly saying, of course we do this. But so because of Biden and walls, we have a major workforce shortage in key areas of our country. And, so that I empathize with it. I'm just trying to say I'm trying to do what I can do. And it's very, very.
Well, it'd be great if there was some communication telling your constituents this.
Yeah. Well, you're not my constituent, fine.
Well,
No, thank you.
And
Anything else?
yeah, I mean, I've heard that this so-called virus can't even really be isolated. Why can't we approach it from the standpoint of like, is there really a pandemic?
That's right.
Because there isn't.
That's
You know,
right.
there really isn't.
That's
And-
right.
And we have to get to the meat of the matter.
Well, if you're over 70, it affects a lot of people.
I'm 72.
I'm over 70.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
just telling you,
73.
there was, I had a pastor friend, he was 71, he died of COVID. I mean, our mother-in-law, I mean, it's if you're younger, it's not nearly as, it's not dangerous at all, frankly, if you're under 20. So we got to figure out the vaccines. I see the numbers because I look at them all the time. It didn't stop the virus, frankly, but the number of hospitalizations and deaths are lower. But there's a risk of the vaccine, and that's why I want people to decide. Without a doubt. Is that tell for me?
Yep.
Okay, I got to do another Zoom, but let me say, if you want to check us out, on that card that we got is Gazelka, is our website, gazelka.com.
And I left other stuff there.
Yeah,
if
take
people want to
a
continue
look at what
to.
we're doing. And maybe I'll come back again and talk. We didn't know that we were going to get out a little later. But I'm asking you to join us. If you're asking how to win, I'm telling you that we are the only ones that have been winning. We won this last election when nobody else won. When you think about that, nobody else won in Minnesota but the Senate Republican majority under my leadership. So I know what I'm doing. I know how to govern. I'm a conservative. Some of the other candidates are not. They say they are, but I work with it. So I can tell you some amazing stories. So anyway, but God bless you all. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you again on the road. Thank you.
And if you need a character reference,
Oh, you're so prejudiced. I can see the
She's
love
not
in your eyes.
prejudiced.
It's not going to work.
two right here, right here.
After 39 years, you figure out.
And they always use pictures by the lady.
Few tricks.
There you go.
Will do.
Nice.
She's here one more time.
She's
God,
really doing, I just got the snap.
All right, we're going to do a Zoom somewhere around here. So.
Thank you.
So tonight, I like you right now, so I feel all my.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
All right, should we try to do it somewhere? We'll figure
Thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing.
You're welcome. So is there going to be more, or is it pretty much over? How you doing, Don?
That's our first half. So if you'd like to stick around, I do have more things to cover. But those are our two candidates. Thank you again for those candidates. Just to let you know, for the month of December, we meet the third Thursdays of the month. So we've got the 16th. I think that's where we're at for December. I don't want to misquote you. Yes, so the third Thursday is December 16th. We'll be meeting here again. I think we will likely actually move down to the grill downstairs. It'll actually be a little bit bigger than that. And every month that we do this, it seems like it gets a little bit bigger. So we're like, well, what else can we do? So I'm proposing to have a little social hour ahead of it, so people can come at 6:30, I think, and partake in the food or just chat around, and then we'll get started at 7 like we have been. What we have scheduled so far, we have Dr. Scott Jensen, another governor candidate, has already secured a spot. And we also have Attorney General candidate Dennis Smith. And so I'm very excited about that. We're working on other candidates to come as well. And my goal is to get every single candidate that's running to come to our BPOU, our Senate district, and so that you all have an opportunity to be able to hear what they have to say. And it's a really informed decision on who you think would be the best candidate to lead our state coming up in 2022. So, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Just want to thank Roman's Grill. They stayed open until 8 o'clock tonight, so for anybody that wanted food, certainly could have had that, and they'll be available, at our meetings each time. So, thank you for them. I want to thank Bobbie and Steve's Auto World, and in particular Bobbie Williams. I don't know if you saw him, but he kind of stepped out there. I know he was feeling raised tonight, but he's been so gracious in letting us have the location here, and a great conservative supporter. So thank you to him. Chris?
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
we'll talk.
Yeah. The next part of what I'd like to bring up here is a gentleman that met online, Chris Ashcroft, and I'll let him introduce himself a little bit more. Basically, he has, he's been spearheading in the Mountains View School District all the issues that, Dr. Gazelka was kind of mentioning why he took his kids out there, and trying to make some inroads, make some changes, and I just wanted to get some insight from them on what they've been able to do, what their goals are, and how we might be able to replicate that in some of the other school districts in our area. So with that.
Well, so thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Very much. Don't worry, I gotta say things the way they are.
That's what we like.
So first of all, this whole thing started because there was a lot of parents that were really unhappy with what was going on. And one thing that we heard back from people more than a couple times was they come up with a complaint to the school, and the school turns around and says, hey, you're the only one that's been complaining about this. And I was warned by some other parents previous to this that you better make sure you're organized, because if they go and get ready for being retaliated against, make sure that you're set. So I'm not a huge Barack Obama fan, but one thing we got right, and that was community. That's what we're doing. And you know what? It's a lot harder to push around 200 to 500 people than it is to have one parent that's complaining.
That's right.
So what we're doing is a journey of building community, learning what's really going on, and it's shocking. I cannot believe the material I'm getting, the responses I'm getting from teachers and from principals, or lack of responses. It's eye-opening. We're trying to organize that material. We're trying to educate parents so they can make decisions. Is this the environment you want to stick your kids into? The goal of the unit is to let parents and children have the best opportunity for an education possible. Maybe that's the public school system. I hope it is, because that would be a very easy solution. But then we need to make the schools excellent. So, we really just started a few months ago. Some concerns we had. The group has grown into the hundreds in 6 to 12 weeks. And I mean, we worked on the school board ballot because we didn't even have a Facebook page or get organized until after the filing deadline for the candidates. That's how new we are. So we're just out there trying to network with people. We're not partisan. I'm a Republican. A little bit of libertarian meetings, but that's okay. We're trying to find our community in schools. ideals, they're human ideas. They're the great ideas of liberalism originally. Free speech, liberty, individualism. These are the things we're like reformed conservatives going back to our roots and getting back to that. Yes, it's important that we accommodate transgender students on our campuses. Of course, that should be a big deal. But it's also a big deal to protect a student's First Amendment right to practice free religion, practice free speech, and petition the government. And I've never heard one teacher, one administrator, or one person on a board ever talk about how they protect and foster students' First Amendment rights. Why? This is part of the Constitution. It is the foundation of the society that we built. And it's completely absent from the schools. Why? It doesn't make any sense at all. So anyways, I don't have much more to say other than we're here, we're growing, we're focused, we're asking you to join us. We'd love to be partners with you somehow. When our goals are aligned, we think this is a great partnership. Because it's not just your school boards, it's going all the way up to the speakers that came right before me. Because it has to do with the Department of Education, it has to do with teacher licensing, it has to do with the curriculum, it has to do with all the rules and the funding in the schools. These are all huge things that impact the daily lives of our students on those campuses everywhere through the state. This was all the way up to date. And hopefully we find some places where a lot of our goals are aligned. But we really just want excellent schools for our kids to go to. Because we want them to be excellent adults. And this is a big piece of that. We'll be your parents, they can be the educators. That's a fair role. Move on. That seems to be a hard concept in the state. So with that said, if you have questions, if you can do that, I'm not sure what you had in mind as far as time or anything else you want to do with this, but that tells us a little bit about us and what we're doing.
How do we find you?
Oh, good question. I knew you were going to ask that. Well, right now, we're so new. We're on Facebook, so look up the Moundsview Public Schools Parents United, and if anybody wants to.
What's the name of it again?
It's the Moundsview Public Schools Parents United page.
Moundsview Public Schools.
Moundsview Public Schools Parents United.
Okay.
Parents United. Yeah. Oh shoot. You know what? Hold on. We just changed our name. Part of the reason I'm confused here, we used to be the Moundsview School District Patriots. But we didn't want to be the Patriots because we thought that turned off a lot of people that were moderates on the left, but actually have a lot of things that they're interested in. And these are the people we want to bring over to these elections all the way up the ticket, right? So we changed to the actual name. So look up Moundsview School District Parents United. You can email me at 621parentsunited@gmail.com. And both of those two things will get there. Otherwise, I will work with Adam. If anybody wants to reach out to me, get information, or go back and forth, I'm happy to work through the party here and do that as well.
What was your name again?
My name is Chris Ashback.
Okay, thank you.
We are famous for lip drop, so you need lip drop volunteers anytime.
Yeah.
We're here.
Sounds good. Well, I mean, honestly, we're nothing's organized other than we're just a group of parents that are self-sorted, and we just kind of come together because we have some concerns, and we're just trying to work through it. We're trying to help our children with the challenges that they have. My 11-year-old just learned about the genderbread man in class from a teacher who's not, we're not sure if even licensed to teach sex ed, in an English class. So in this English class, they were teaching about sexuality and gender and human development using the genderbread person. So if that makes you think, maybe we need to look further.
Yeah.
Chris, can I ask you, how did you reach out to people, or how did you start having a conversation with people? I organically had a conversation on lunch hour with two other women, and all of a sudden we were like, you're saying come, and then one woman said, this is three of us talking in a room. Where are the rest of the parents? They were like, well, how long did it take us to talk?
Right. Well, and this is what we're finding. There's a lot of people that have been kind of pushed aside behind the curtain. All of a sudden, they open the door for parents to see into the classroom for an entire year. So for an entire year, the kids got to sit in their class with their teachers and the state's curriculum in our kitchens. And we have to listen to that whole thing for a year. You want to know what parents are fired up? Thank you, Zoom. It was like that scene in The Wizard of Oz. Unfolded the curtain.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
We are not in Kansas anymore. And education is not what it was when we went to those schools. So I was a multi-grade. It's not the same school when I was there.
Thank God for COVID.
There you go.
Because this wouldn't have been revealed if we hadn't been, living the lives that we've been living in the past year and a half.
Well, that's right. And, like I said, we are very specific in not trying to beat up teachers or admin. We're fighting over ideas here, right? We want to support our teachers because they're good people that are working with our children every day, that have relationships with them. We want them to be good and solid, and we want to support them. But we want to make sure they are supporting us as parents. I don't think it's appropriate for my 11-year-old, without me being involved, to just talk to this beforehand with him or opting him out of this curriculum if I don't think he's mature enough to handle it, is learning about the difference between having a penis and being a girl or being a boy.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
No, yes it does. Yes, it does.
I mean, I don't think I'm out of line with that.
No, I think you're perfectly right.
Nope.
So there's a time for that discussion, and I'm not afraid of that discussion. I think it's good to have that discussion, but we ought to have the parents involved in that discussion so us parents don't have our values stolen from us and our children by the teachers and the schools.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you guys gotten deep enough into it to be able to ask the administrators or whatever, where is the indoctrination coming from?
Well,
is it coming from the top? Are they mandated to do these things to their schools?
We're learning a lot. And like I said, this is pretty new. All we know is that something smells bad. And we're digging. To be honest with you. And I think that we're going to find that it's systemic. It's a systemic problem. When we talk about the equity promise, what they're saying, if you read it for yourself, you should go read it and make your own mind up on it, because I don't want to tell you how to think.
Yeah.
I think you can do that. Go read it, but basically the gist is that they want to make sure that if you look at students of a particular class or group or sex or whatever they say in their thing, that the outcomes of those students are all going to be the same across the board. So the white students are going to have the same kind of outcomes as another group of students, as another group of students. This is a good, noble idea. The problem is that they're not talking about equality, because if it was about equality, they just say we need equal education. They don't. They say it's going to be an equitable thing. So, are we about equity and making sure everybody is the same at the end, or do we have equal opportunities, or are we after excellence? This is a philosophical problem that should be handled at a much higher level than us as parents sitting here. I think it should be excellence. You know what? If we have some students that can be excellent, I think that's a great thing. Why aren't we achieving excellence?
That's right.
We see in leveling classes, so that I had a couple times where my kids got bumped backwards in classes because they got really advanced classes. And so you have to ask, so are we looking at equal outcomes? They're not saying equal excellent outcomes. Equal outcomes. What Margaret Thatcher said, the great thing about socialism is we can all share in different amounts of misery. It's dumb. It's just a dumb idea.
That's right.
And these educators, they're just supposed to be the smartest and the brightest people, giving the grandest ideas. Chesterton said that, they did even the highest parts of humanity, being kind, loving each other, and that kind of stuff, to the lowest people, because that's the most important thing. That's the basis of the rest of your education. So here we are, instead of teaching those great human concepts, those great ideas of liberty, like free speech and liberty, and loving your neighbor, and those things at the lowest level, we're teaching them curriculum that comes out of Southern California from professors out there talking about circles of culture. So now, instead of understanding the great liberal ideas, the classic liberal ideas, now we're talking about, you look at their her. And so you must have certain attributes and traits that I can identify you as. And you must have different attributes and traits. So now I understand who you two are, even though I've never had a conversation. Does that make sense?
No.
I don't think so. So these are some of the challenges that we're getting into right now. I don't know where this is going to go. We're not doing anything other than organizing. We're a group of parents exercising our First Amendment rights, petition the government, free speech, and to organize. And that's it.
Chris, how many times have you met? How many times have you met?
Once. In fact, we got our first really official meeting coming up, and it's not even on the schedule yet. But I think we're going to try to meet about a week or so before the school board meeting so that we can go and express ourselves and, as the First Amendment says, petition the government for our redress. So that's kind of our plan. And, you know, I'll put it up on the Facebook page. They're going to be open, and they're going to be at public places like this, so anybody can come and join us. And if they want to participate, that's wonderful. But it's going to give us an opportunity to kind of get out there, keep this thing moving forward, keep growing, keep learning more, keep educating people more.
Do you have like-minded on your Mountain View school board?
I'm sorry?
Do you have like-minded people on your Mountain View
No.
school board now?
No.
None of them?
No.
None of them?
I don't think so.
No. How many?
Was it 7?
So you redo the whole thing?
Yeah.
You have candidates?
Yeah, I think so. And part of it is that, but also, like, let's just make sure we're following the rules. Right? Like, does it make sense? Does it make sense that we're, you know, promoting things that are outside of the Minnesota education curriculum inside the schools?
No.
I mean, I'm kind of a feeling of, hey, I'm glad you have a relationship with my kids and all the kids you pour in the community. Like, those are all honorable and great things. But do your job and go home. And let us be the parents.
That's right.
Right? Like, I want to support you, but you're making it really, really, really hard. Because I don't trust you.
That's right.
The trust has totally been dissolved. And that's why we're seeing students misbehaving like crazy. Not only did they forget all the social problems, you know, norms that they had pre-COVID, they all stayed home. They're all wearing masks. And we would treat the kids like diseases, and then we expect them to all behave. I mean, really? Doesn't make any sense at all. So,
Details or email addresses, can you distribute Chris's contact information?
yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I'll give you my
Facebook page.
Yeah, my phone number and email and Facebook page. You know, we're gonna,
Yeah, I'll include the contact information for all the guests that are there.
Well, you're going up against Education Minnesota, the largest lobbying group in the state.
yeah, they are.
And you have to fight on this. Obviously, there's a political answer to this problem.
Yeah.
Take a lot of
Well,
effort.
I mean, I think we should be concerned that Democratic Socialist is someone who's self-proclaimed,
Yeah.
ran and beat one person that might have been close to our views, you know, in this district. I mean, that's kind of eye-opening. And I think it's okay to start educating people about what's really going on. I mean, let's be truthful, let's be honest, let's be fair, let's treat teachers well, treat them right, because they are part of our community and we want them on our side. This isn't about beating people up, it's about fixing bad ideas. So let's do that today.
Let me get a picture of you two together.
All right.
Put that camera down, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we all look forward to meeting you.
Anyone else have questions before you? Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And this will be an ongoing relationship, I'm sure.
I will be coming back more
Yeah.
because this is kind of we're getting some momentum.
Yeah, you might have to change your name from Mountain View Parents to
Well,
Soda Parents.
I'll just name water and organize right there.
For this time. One list of everything about that glitter right here.
Can't give you some
We will carry on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Did you get all your questions answered? We're starting?
They're starting, but we all know, it's been going on since 1960.
Why don't you come out? Yeah, you.
And we've just been asleep.
Yes, we've been asleep,
bugs
right,
me.
1950.
So,
Could we have,
Pretty close.
Jensen come in next month?
So,
We have a bullhorn. I have a bullhorn in the car. It's really loud. I'm too loud.
Well, so for caucuses.
For what?
Caucuses.
You from New Jersey?
Caucuses.
I was born there.
Okay.
For caucuses, both high schools were booked. Probably, you know. So.
So we have to kind of decide what our plan is.
What are there? The elementary schools in Columbia Heights are available. Otherwise, the Fridley Middle School, the classrooms are available. For the convention we had in 2020, the week before the state shut down, but that was Island Elementary.
So what is Columbia Academy not an option there? 'Cause I noticed that wasn't included.
I could. Yeah, she said the elementary schools were open. Is that middle school?
Well,
where were we for our convention? It was right next to the high school. It's the elementary school next to the high school, right?
one of them is, if the Democrats are up at the high school, I'd suggest being down in, say, Valley View then rather than Highland, so we're not sharing parking and confusing people.
Yeah, I ended up at the Democrat at the high school one time. They thought I was joining them.
Well, sometimes when I go, they would each precinct met separately, so they'd be all over the place.
Yeah. You're gonna want to do that this year. The reason we want to be in by precinct is redistricting is going to go by precinct, and you really don't know how your delegates are going to get elected. You know, so you might stay as one BPOU altogether. You also might get split into 3 pieces. And the way redistricting always goes is the precincts stay the same, and who is included in the BPOU can change.
Yeah. So one of the big dates to have on your calendar is Tuesday, February 1st. Make sure you clear that day off, 7 o'clock, because that's our precinct caucus. That is where you start that 2-year process of being able to be involved with the parties. So it's just critically important that we get you all there for that one. The unique thing is because this is a redistricting cycle, we're not going to know what our House District, Senate District, any of that is going to look like in its final form. Well, the precincts will stay the same, so we'll be organizing, getting people together at precincts, and at some point after that caucus, we'll be sending out stuff to you once we know what the boundaries are going to be and how, who's going to go where. So, Ken Wendling, the gentleman that was just here a little bit ago, so he comes here along with us. He's from Senate District 37, and the reason why he's here, he's a friend of ours, but he's in Spring Lake Park. He's a city council member there, and it's probably the most likely area that's going to get added to us. In redistricting is if you have to guess. And we don't know, of course. They could do something really wacky and really mess up boundaries and have nothing like what we currently have. But we're hoping that'll be somewhat similar. So I would say if I had to bet, Spring Lake Park is probably a plus because Blaine has exploded. It has 20,000 people. There's a whole other house district that they have to find a way to fit. And it's got to come from somewhere. So I'm expecting that there's going to be a shift on the north side. So our plan right now is to have one large location. I think that's based upon the information I have there. Most likely would be if we did Columbia Heights, Valley View would make the most sense. if we did Frigley, would be Frigley Middle School, but we're looking at one location for all of the cities, just so that we can consolidate our resources. The reason why, even though we are having precinct meetings, but meeting as a larger group as well, so that you don't feel alone. Because when we have a precinct meeting and there's 2 people there, you're like, oh, that's it? You know, that's all the people that are involved? Really? But if we're here as a larger group, you're like, wow, I can feel this. I can feel the synergy. I don't feel alone. I know that we can do this together, and we can find even more people that are like-minded. And I think that that's a very important part of having that caucus experience is being able to have that feeling as you experience that. So we want to have that one location for that reason. We really need you guys to consider to be a caucus convener. Basically, that means that you are going to be the leader of the meeting at your table. You know, you're the one that is going to be leading all the things. There is a defined script. It is something that is very specific because of state statute. You know, so everything happens at a certain time, a certain order. So it's not something that we have to reinvent the wheel on, but it's things that we have to go through. One of the important things that we have to do that night is make sure that we elect delegates and alternates, and we need to get that to that first level. So there'll be precinct delegates and alternates. And then once we figure out what those House and Senate districts look like, we'll be able to have a community House and Senate district convention, and be able to go up to a congressional district and state conventions, and you'll have the opportunity to pick what governor candidate you want, what attorney general candidate you want, what secretary of state candidate you want, and if that's something that you want to do. If you just want to be involved in your precinct, you can do that. We need precinct captains just to be able to be there on the ground and say, hey, I know my neighbors. I know that this person and this person and this person thinks like we do, and we got to get them involved. So there's so many different elements that we can do. You just talked about having election shows. My goodness, we have to have election integrity. The election doesn't mean a lot if nobody believes that it was valid. And so we've got to make sure that we do everything that we can to make sure that everything is on the up and up. That means that getting involved as an election judge so that we have no excuse about being able to appoint all of these deputy clerks hundreds at a time and somehow circumventing the process. And we have to follow up on that.
I worked as an election judge. The biggest problem I see is the need for a provisional ballot for one thing.
Absolutely.
Same day registration when you get to vote, that's the biggest flaw in the whole operating system. I handled the list because I was head judge, and there were 2 Republicans and 12 people. A bunch of Democrats, and half the people said they were non-aligned. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. The provisional ballots, once your ballot is commingled with the rest of them, it's basically impossible to separate at that point. We don't know, we might be able to figure out through an audit that there are this many ballots that are not good. The problem is we don't know which ones. We know they're in this pile, we just don't know which ones are the bad ones. And so, being able to keep them keeping them separate until we have confidence that they are indeed good ballots. That's very critical. Great point. So, I know I got a lot of you signed up here. If you think that you might want to, election judge, if you think you might want to be a convener, please, check that out, write that down, stop me, we'll talk about it. If you have further questions, raise your hand. So what's that all about? Because there's just so many ways that we need people to be able to get involved, big and small. Let's see. the reason I asked Tim Kirk, our treasurer, to come up here is that we're near the end of our fiscal year, and there's a program the Democrats put on, but you know, as long as it's there, we might as well use it. It's called the Political Contribution Refund Program, PCR, and you know, it's the easiest thing for us because you get your money refunded. It's reimbursed. So if you provide $50 per person, $100 per couple to a BPOU like us, the Senate District, or to a candidate that is in the House, Senate, statewide candidate, that amount, okay, let's try it. You go ahead and give that donation, you get a receipt. You take the receipt and a PCR form, you send it into the state. And the state, typically 4 to 6 weeks, will send you your money back. And if you got direct deposit already from the IRS, it'll go directly. So it's a very simple process. It's a win-win because you get your money back, and you know we get some starter money to be able to do a lot of these things that we need to do to make all these different things that I just mentioned happen. You know, people often will forget that option. You know, so once we get to the end of December here, if we start that new year, then you'll be able to do that again. You'll be able to give another 50, another 100, and that cycle. So you know, I really encourage that if we haven't done, so please consider our Senate district for that. So you would donate to.
Just give him a check or talk to the treasurer here.
Right to Tim Kirk, no. Right to Senate District 41, Republicans.
Why don't you send that out in your email to all of us too? We get that.
I will.
You're able to do that every calendar year.
We'll take the check, and then we'll get you a receipt out. It's a pretty simple process. And, yeah, it works really well for us. And you know, then in the election year, certainly, you can put towards your favorite candidate as well. Or, you know, if you still got money going, you know, now that you got the money back, let's give a real donation, right? Let's see. What else did I want to mention?
Next month meeting.
No, not yet. See, I was going to talk about that. BPOU. Well, I'll think of something and I'll end up in your email, I'm sure. But if you have not given me your email, somehow to contact me otherwise, that's probably the best way to get to most people here quickly. So, and I'm not giving the email out to other people. I'm not giving it out to the state party. You know, it's strictly for the Senate district if you put your name down. So, it stays here. It stays in Vegas, right? Let's see. Just one article. Well, I guess I'll just go to the next one. So
December 16th.
next month, on third Thursday again, is December 16th, 7 o'clock. What I'm proposing is to have a social hour at 6:30. So those of us that just want to get to know each other and chat and maybe have a little food at Roman's Grill. I think what we'll do is we'll meet down there. I talked to the owner down there, and he's down with that. The only asterisk on it is that they do have a kitchen fan that is somewhat noisy. So what we said, that was part of the reason why I decided to keep it up here despite that, because they offered to stay open until 8 o'clock, which is an hour later than they normally do, so that anybody that wanted to could do so. But you know, in this case, what we could do, we could start at 6:30. You know, we could cut off the food around 7. You know, shortly thereafter, the fan will go off, and then we'll have an even bigger place actually down there with some more chairs.
Some chairs.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a great location to be able to use as well. So we have options. You know, last month we used that conference room, and that was enough. And so I really really thank you for all you coming, because every time that I put the word out, and more people are interested. So that means the world to me and to our party. That there's so many people that want to step up and be there to make a difference. So like I mentioned, Scott Jensen is proposed is scheduled to come next month. We have Dennis Smith, Attorney General candidate, and I was told indirectly so that there was a person that's in our group, but I haven't been in personal contact yet, that was greatly involved with the no campaign for the Fridley School District. And one of the things that you might not be aware of if you're not in Fridley is that there are one of the districts that have a school referendum. They they managed to fail. Fridley have theirs failed.
Talking about a bond referendum?
A bond referendum.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
It's for a levy.
Bond is the word I was looking for. And it was another $11 million that they wanted to put on the taxpayers of Fridley School District right after the previous year asking for an increase. So that was not good timing on their part, but their thought process was that we want to move the fifth graders that are currently in the middle school. We want to move them back to the elementary school. And apparently this was something that the parents said that they asked according to the school board. But it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you another $11 million because we don't have the room to bring them back to us to the elementary school. So we're going to have to do some renovations. And this is a great opportunity for us to look at what our wish list might be. See if we can get some of those checked off. And unfortunately, that the voters were not convinced, and so they shut that down. I know there was an extra question on Nova Hamilton that was turned down. There's a massive one in St. Michael, Alberta. So the mood throughout the city is in our favor. They're much more skeptical. They want you to be able to prove it that you actually need that money. It's not a matter of, well, we're not willing to ever give you more money, but show us results. Show us what you're actually going to use it for. Show us that it's going to be for a good purpose. It's going to benefit children. And so much of it right now is they just figure, well, I can just say it's for the kids, and here, just give me more. And you've got a blank check. And so this was a positive year for that. People were a little bit nervous. So anyways, I don't know if I want to put you on the spot at all, but are you okay with that? Yeah, so, one of the things that I've been thrilled about is that we've had more and more people that have come out of the woodwork that, we have some of our core groups, some familiar faces, and we have some new faces. And one of the things that's been very notable for me is that we've had quite a few new faces that have come and joined us before offices. And that's something that's new. Usually if they are going to show up, they'll start there. But I have people texting me, emailing me, calling me, and wanting to get involved early. And a lot of it is on medical freedom issues. It's on things, schools. That's why I had Chris talking. For you, it's medical freedom. I mean, I just want you to be aware that the mood is different. It's definitely something that we haven't seen in a while. We need to capture that, and we need to take advantage of that. So anything that you guys can do to help out with that is much, much appreciated. gonna touch base with that person, and hopefully she might be willing to talk a little bit more about that no campaign in December. Were there any other questions or things that people want to talk about at this point? Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, how many people do you think, what's the population of our BPOU?
Well, I think they're all about, what, 68,000 right now?
yeah, I think that's about right, 68,000.
Registered voters. They're all equalized.
No, it's
Eligible, theoretically eligible. Something like it's population.
Registered voters.
No, it's population, man.
Population, yeah.
It's pop, yeah.
That's why I did the census, so yeah, and so it will be more because the population's grown in the state.
Right, but I'm just saying.
So we're headed towards 70.
68,000, this is it. This is the activist right here.
Yeah, if I had to guess it,
We're on Senate. Yep.
73, 74, I would not be surprised. I expect a lot coming out the Layton side. Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. We're done. If you have any questions, just come at me when we're done. But if there's no other business, you're welcome. Our meeting is adjourned for tonight. Thank you so much.
I was thinking he worked here. No, he's part of CD41.
Yeah, it's part of CD41. All right, so we're going to log off. So these guys did a really good job with their event. And this is a wonderful location, and they said a month from now on December.
You're so welcome.
So which day again was it? It was the next December 16th, you said?
16th.
You're going to have at least Scott Jensen here, maybe somebody else?
We'll have Scott Jensen for governor candidate, and we'll have Dennis Smith for attorney general.
Okay.
And we're looking at some others. They're not confirmed yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to log out.